Welcome to Paul vs. Lewted. This game's gonna be whatever. It's gonna be a stomp. I don't even know why I'm gonna like pretend to cast this. Paul wins. I'm sure he's gonna 2-0 Lewted. He is going to attempt to make things interesting by going over Crandall West though. So that's kind of fun. Paul has Breakthrough, Spec Ops, and Scavenge. Apparently. The map is Smoky Winter, Lewted going with a double conscript opening. Certain pioneers jumping into this building, grabbing control of the south fuel.
We have it.
Romeo Truth Hour. I mean, what? Come on, let's be honest. Lewted cannot beat Paul. There is no series of circumstances that could possibly combine in such a way that Lewted is going to win this game. Like, even just watching these, like, look at what are his combat engineers doing? Then what was that? That was a terrible engagement. I don't think Lewted, like, I don't think some players maybe don't realize what a huge setback it is that just happened. That is catastrophic. At the high levels of play, that can't happen. If that happens, you've probably already lost. That's like so much capping power gone. So much engagement potential. The timing on the first flamethrower is now going to be all just way off. The second combat engineer about to hit the field no longer even makes sense, but he's going to do it anyway. Like, there's a lot of nuances to this game that are kind of hard to capture when casting, that you don't really understand until you're a really good player. But that was very bad. That happening is extremely bad, especially because the Stern Pyos didn't trade almost anything in exchange for forcing that retreat. They barely dropped a single model. They will cross red cover into close range against conscripts without support though, which is kind of a mistake on Paul's part, I think. I don't think that they're going to win that against. Or maybe they will. See, Paul's a better player than me though, so he can better judge whether or not to cross that red cover towards those conscripts. He decided that was worth it. And he does force those conscripts to retreat in exchange for those Stern Pyos. So the engagement, I guess, in his mind, went favorably. Battle group headquarters going up in this aggressive location, which normally against Soviets I would say is a bad idea, but it kind of is loadout dependent. It doesn't look like there's a heavy mortar in this loadout. Paul probably knows that, decides that this is not going to be that risky of a decision. Meanwhile, capturing everything here in the north. Why is it frustrating that one mistake can cost you the game though, Looney? Have you ever played any other RTSs? Have you ever played StarCraft or Grey Goo where one mistake guaranteed will cost you the game every time? Like, without a doubt. Company of Heroes is actually designed to be much more forgiving than a traditional strategy game. Much more forgiving. I mean, that combat engineer squad having to retreat right there, yes, it's bad, but it's possible that he could come back. Even against an extremely good player like Paul, it's possible. In other games, it would definitely be impossible if he did something like that. Like a mistake of like an equivalent gravity. But it is difficult to compare Company of Heroes to other strategy games. I understand that. Because Company of Heroes isn't really a strategy game in the classical sense, it's more of a tactics game. Much more of a tactics game. Because it's all about how you micro your units, and much less about your build decisions, which is why a very much more skilled player in Company of Heroes can win with basically any build. As long as they have very good tactics. And that's probably what we're going to see an example of here, right here in this game.
Our supply lines.
Tactics proving to be much more important than the metagame, much more important than your build.
Supplies to the enemy.
because tactics are what wins and loses games much more so than anything else.
We have found the enemy. Is ready.
Jaegers deployed in this building to engage against the conscripts right there. Looks like Paul is actually going to adopt some Captain Price style barbed wire.
Taking losses.
He must have liked that trick that Price used against him. Kind of, sort of doing it himself, although he didn't do both entrances. Maybe he couldn't find time. So now he's just going to take advantage of this building for himself, try and force those conscripts to retreat right there.
Incoming round. We are taking losses. You are shooting low. We are bleeding, comrade. Enemy forces are attempting to capture our territory. Heavy machine gun team, prepare for combat. The enemy has
Lewted has gone tier 2 apparently. Usually a double combat engineers you see tier 1, especially if it's not with a 4 conscript opening. 3 conscripts, 2 combat engineers is almost always tier 1. You usually go 4 cons with tier 2. So this is a little bit inefficient for Lewted. I think he's probably going to struggle to take any territory. Not that... whatever, I don't know. He's already basically lost. He doesn't have any fuel points under his control. Paul winning engagements at all locations of the map, has everything under his control. These 2 squads will be forced to retreat, and Paul has a forward retreat point, so his retreats are extremely inexpensive. He can get healed and reinforced and back to the front line much quicker than his opponent can. And Lewted not having access to any heavy mortars will not be able to punish this that hard. He could go double mortar out of tier 2, but he's already kind of behind for map control and manpower. And going double mortar would probably only make that situation worse. You kind of only want to go mortar after you're already putting immense pressure on your opponent to try and put further pressure on them. Once you can no longer push any harder with infantry, you use a mortar to push harder than your infantry would be able to from range. And Love Nest is a great example of that. Utilizing a half-track forward reinforce point to keep up the pressure, and he always gets himself a 13-minute plus mortar. It comes a little later when he plays as Oster, but he pretty much always gets that late-game mortar, because he very much likes to apply early pressure. Oh, you're right, he does. That's Soviet Shock Army. He does have heavy mortar in this one. Well, they might want to consider picking a commander soon. He's up to 3 CPs and hasn't chosen anything yet. He's also floating 500 manpower. If he had shocks or a heavy mortar present for this engagement, he might be able to punish Paul's build decisions or his tactics. Infiltration grenades into the building. Maxim wiped.
Incoming fire!
Late dodge on that grenade may turn the engagement in Paul's favor. 3 Volksgrenadiers remaining in green cover against 3 conscripts. Pretty sure he's going to win that. Tier 4 going up right here. Interesting placement. Will sort of protect the fuel a little bit. It's pretty hidden. An AT gun, though, set up on the ice right there could destroy that. So that's actually, I think, kind of bad placement. I don't think that's very good placement for that structure. Unless you already have a massive lead and you're not particularly afraid of your opponent's AT guns, which Paul probably is not. He does have a huge lead. He's wiped a Maxim already, just generally ahead for manpower, I think. Ooh, nice mine, though. Takes out 4 Volksgrenadiers right there. Paul will get the point decapped at least before retreating. These 2 squads will move to take control of the victory point and strategic point.
Upgrade complete.
Booby trap is going to go down on the strategic point here on the left.
Mission accomplished. Support package received.
Well, I mean, yeah, an AT gun can sink, but not if it's positioned intelligently. The AT gun can outrange the Schwerer easily. There's so much room. fact, even attacking ground into the Fog of War would probably connect pretty reliably because there's almost no shot blockers at all. Except for maybe this hill.
Enemy flamethrower! No enemy activity. Aborted field commendation! Stand off distance! All elements increase fire! Contact! Supply hub getter is ready for orders.
Standard mortar fielded by Lewted. Again, I think double mortar is nice if you're not going to go heavy mortar, which I don't know why he hasn't even chosen a commander yet.
Supply lines have been cut.
Soviets are notoriously quite heavily reliant on their commander. Waiting until 5 CPs to choose his commander is making an already extremely difficult game much worse. Panzer II on the field to put pressure on Lewted and punish him for not having on guards and for not having an AT gun out yet, and also not having AT grenades, which means that this could probably drive straight into the Soviet base and just win the game, although there is a mine right there on the road.
Your predecessor died a hero.
Paul currently has all points under his control.
Hooper, prepare for contact! Flamethrower group! Target captured. No enemy contact. Achtung! Ready west. Hold. Regimental HQ for mechanized sector will be here. Der Schwanzlutscher ist kaputt! Taking fire over here! Infantry attacking in force! Taking small arms fire! And
Paul's infantry is just cutting everything to shreds. Panzer II also inflicting massive casualties on the conscripts here in this position, and Lewted will, despite dedicating all of his forces to this engagement, be pushed back into his base again. Panzer II is heading south to round up a few stray squads trying to get some territory under control. And the base lock will continue. Lewted continues to show no signs of being able to break this aggressive containment. After Panzer II, Paul may not want to go Ostwind. It is nice to have a slightly more durable anti-infantry vehicle, though. Might just go straight to Panther or Sturm Tiger or something, I don't know.
the fighting has lowered the enemy down to 200 points.
That's not true. I'm not always bored. This is it's a boring game, like.
New orders. Jäger, listen up.
Lewted is just gonna get smashed. I don't understand why people nominate people that absolutely cannot win. Admittedly, there weren't that many people in the challenger pool during the raffle. Like, okay, there weren't that
Grenadiers ready. Squad,
many people that have a realistic chance of beating Paul. I understand that, but at least the vast majority of people that raffled are able to make it look like they stand a chance. Maybe given good enough RNG it would be plausible, but Lewted cannot beat him. Lewted is probably one of the worst players that you could have possibly chosen. And while that is, like, on the one hand, yeah, it's kind of funny, on the other hand, it's not that funny repeatedly, because this happens in Starcross Kings kind of a lot, actually. Nice booby trap. Pretty nice booby trap. You know, the booby traps aren't actually that good. A shoe mine is almost just as likely to wipe a squad as the booby trap is. I think it's maybe a little, like, slightly better chances of wiping a squad, but for its cost, I think, I don't know. For its cost, I don't know if I think it's really worth it. They're alright, though. If it does give you a wipe, that's nice. Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, Lewted signed up for this. He's signed up for this multiple times, even though he knows he can't win, and everybody knows he can't win. So, That's his choice. I just don't see why I have to be all nice about it.